Fallout used to make you feel like the world ended for a reason. Now it makes you feel like the world ended so you could build a settlement. That's the whole problem. And I know people are going to say that I'm just being nostalgic or that I hate fun or whatever, but stick with me here. This isn't about graphics or game engines or the 76 was the disaster at launch. It's about something much deeper. Bethesda didn't change Fallout, they hollowed it completely out, and most people didn't even notice when it happened. Before Bethesda touched it, Fallout was built around one question: what does survival do to people? Not in a cool leather jacket, scavenging for caps kind of way, in a genuinely uncomfortable way. Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 put you in situations where there were no good options. You could sell people into slavery to save a village, you could nuke a town to complete a quest, and you could become addicted to drugs mid-playthrough and watch your stats rot in real time. The game never judged you for it, it just showed you the consequences of your actions. The world had weight to it, and every faction had a logic. Even the smaller settlements all had a reason to exist, a tension driving them. That's what Fallout was. Fallout 3 came out in 2008 and sold over 5 million copies in its first month. So before I say this, I understand why Bethesda made the choices they made, but understanding why doesn't mean those choices didn't cost something. Bethesda's Fallout is a theme park. The capital wasteland looks incredible, sure, and the atmosphere is genuinely oppressive like it's meant to be. Walking into DC for the first time and seeing the Washington Monument half buried in rubble really hit. I won't pretend like it did it. The moment you start talking to people, something feels off. In Fallout 3, factions exist to give you quests. The Enclave is evil, the Brotherhood is mostly good, and the choice between them is essentially, do you want to be the hero or do you want to be really evil? New Vegas proved you could do it right inside the Bethesda engine. Obsidian took the same toolkit and built something that felt like the original games, factions that actually made sense and a world with actual political stakes. That game came out in 2010 and it took 18 months to make, and it's still the best thing with the Fallout name on it. And then Bethesda watched that happen, nodded, and decided to make the absolute clusterfuck that was Fallout 4. Fallout 4 is where I think the soul finally started to leave the building. They added a voice protagonist. Sounds minor, but it really isn't. The moment your character has a fixed personality, you stop being them. You're watching somebody else make decisions in a wasteland. And that's a completely different experience entirely, not a Fallout experience. They added base building, which, look, some people love it. And I wouldn't lie if I'd say I wasn't one of those people. I even have a whole video about building the most insane settlement. But think about what that communicates. You're not a survivor navigating a broken world, you're a fucking contractor. The game literally puts you in charge of supply lines and settlement happiness meters. Jesus Christ. The dialogue wheel gave you 4 options that were essentially yes, no, yes, but sarcastically and more information. Which, if we're being honest, all of them basically did absolutely nothing to influence the game. The moral complexity that defined the original games were now gone, replaced with a system designed to keep you moving forward no matter what. And the story is just a whole different topic on its own. The Institute, the Railroad, the Brotherhood, the Minutemen, every faction ends the same way. You become the de facto leader. You're always the chosen one. The world bends to you instead of you bending to the world. In the original Fallout games, you were the one that bends to the world. That's the difference. If this is hitting different for you right now, subscribe. I'm going deep on everything wrong and occasionally right with this franchise. If you've never played Fallout New Vegas, go play New Vegas. We'll talk about it. I'll keep Fallout 76 short because everybody already knows. A live service Fallout with no NPCs at launch in a world that felt like a map with no reason to care about any of it. They fixed a lot of it over time, but the fact that it's shipped like that tells you where the franchise's priorities have moved. The Amazon show is much more complicated. It's wonderfully entertaining television. I love that show. The production is great and Walton Goggins is doing things in the role that most actors definitely could not do. But the show makes the same trade Bethesda always makes: aesthetic over substance. It looks like Fallout, it sounds like Fallout, but when you ask what it's about, what it's actually saying about power, about survival, and about what America was and what the wasteland became, the answer is surprisingly thin. McGaul is a great character in the show that isn't sure what it wants to say. And here's the thing, I don't think Bethesda set out to ruin anything. I think they genuinely love the setting, but they love the aesthetic of Fallout, the retrofuturism, the dark humor, the visual language, without fully understanding what made the original games work. And when a franchise gets bought out by a studio with different priorities, the thing that made it special is usually the first thing to go. Not because anyone decided to remove it, but because it was never quantifiable. You can't put morally uncomfortable decisions with real consequences in a feature list. So they kept the Pip-Boy in the vault and power armor, and they built a great open world around it, and 20 million people bought it. But somewhere in that process, Fallout stopped asking questions, and a game that doesn't ask questions isn't Fallout. It's just a very good game with Fallout's clothes on. If you made it this far, you probably already know what I'm talking about. You felt it too, that thing that's been missing. Subscribe if you want to keep putting on this thread, because I've got a lot more to say about what this franchise wants and what it would take to actually fix it. Leave a comment with the moment you felt Fallout change. I'm genuinely curious where people draw the lines, and see you in the wasteland.